This is the Less Insurance Dependence podcast show with my good friend Gary Takacs and myself, Naren Arulrajah.
We appreciate your listenership, your time, and most of all, we appreciate your intention to reduce insurance dependence in your practice. Our goal is to provide information that will help you successfully reduce insurance dependence and convert your practice into a thriving and profitable dental practice that provides you with personal, professional, and financial satisfaction.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Less Insurance Dependence podcast, the official podcast of the Reducing Insurance Dependence Academy, www.rid.academy. Membership to the Academy is a gift from Gary and I in appreciation for your listenership. Visit rid.academy and don't forget to register. By registering, you will have access to all of our resources and a free pass to all of our events, including our upcoming annual summit. I am Naren, your co-host. Today's podcast is titled, How to Develop an Effective Blueprint to Achieve the Practice Results You Deserve. Before I get into this, I have an announcement to make. We have an event coming up. It's a surprise at the moment. We're still finalizing it. It's a 2-hour event with lots of interesting panels. It's about the future of dentistry, but I'll keep the exact title a suspense for now. Go to thrivingdentist.com/events and sign up. You get 2 hours of CE. It's on the 27th of May, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. And take advantage of this, special access. Go to that link and, sign up. And of course, you'll get more details once you go to that link.
Sneak preview, that event's going to be all about technology. You know how we feel about technology here at Less Insurance Dependence Podcast. Technology is one of the ways that you can present your practice as reasons why patients would choose your office. So come join us at that event. We've got a great group of panelists talking all about the latest, greatest technology in dentistry. Come join us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary. Let's jump into today's conversation, how to develop an effective blueprint to achieve the practice results you deserve. I think it's a wonderful topic to cover on the Less Insurance Dependence podcast because, many people who are on this journey with us, at least start out being in a not so happy place, meaning they are working really hard, giving up a lot of what they make to the fat cats at the insurance company in the form of the adjustment between usual and customary fees versus what they actually end up collecting after all the controls and pricing and all the deductions and so forth. So they are not in this ideal world where, let's say, they are producing $1.5 million in dentistry. They're only able to collect $1 million because $500,000 goes to the fat cats in the insurance company. So the question we get asked a lot, Gary, is, how do I change that? How do I go from, going to the salt mine every day and working harder every year than I did the prior year just to keep up with inflation and keep up with increasing costs while the PPO just controls what I can do and how much I can charge. So what's the blueprint to, creating a practice that produces the results and the life you deserve?
Well, we'll give you a little sneak peek behind the curtain in this episode. One of the things we do in my coaching work is I'm a big believer in creating a coaching blueprint. You think about it, if you're going, many of our listeners maybe have built their own building or built their own house, or maybe it's in their plans in the future to build a building or build a house. Well, you wouldn't just have some ideas and have a construction crew come on out and say, hey, I've got some ideas, go for it. You're going to have a very detailed blueprint to follow. And that's what we do with our clients. We develop a coaching blueprint on how to get from where they are. We figure out where you are first. And for example, where you are might be that you've got 80% of your practice are PPO patients. You're giving away 45 to 50% of your fees to the PPO plans with those 80% of the patients. As a result, your profitability isn't where it should be, and your practice isn't where you dreamed it would be. That's maybe where you're starting. And then we know where you want to go. And we have a vision for where you want to go. I want to emphasize this, though. It's not just about numbers, because, our flagship podcast called The Thriving Dentist Show And many of you also listen to that podcast. If you don't, let me encourage you to listen to that. Just type in Thriving Dentist Show in the podcast directory of your choice, and you'll find that almost 700 episodes now. Started that in 2011. Now, if you listen to the Thriving Dentist Show, you know that our definition of a thriving practice is one that provides personal, professional, and financial satisfaction. Personal satisfaction means you're taking care of the patients you like to take care of, surrounded by a team you love. Professional satisfaction means you're doing more of the kind of dentistry you like to do, whatever that is, whatever flavor of dentistry that is, you're doing more of it. And then financial satisfaction is more self-explanatory. You're being rewarded handsomely and fairly for your care, skill, and judgment. That's the destination.
Yeah.
When we know where you are, and we know where you want to go, we simply reverse engineer it from where you want to go and come up with a very specific coaching blueprint. Now, there's a lot of moving pieces. For example, there's an entire element of the blueprint that deals with all the things that have to be done to resign successfully from PPO plans. There's a whole series of things. We have to do training with your team members. We have to know our data. We have to know, how many patients we have in each plan. We have to know what the co-payment for an adult hygiene appointment is going to be once you're out of network, because that's the question that patients, it's going to cost me more to stay here. And the question they're asking very specifically is for the adult hygiene appointment. Think about that, Naren. When you're in network with just about every PPO plan, what's the cost to the patient, out-of-pocket cost for the hygiene appointment?
Zero.
It's free. I mean, that's their mindset, right? It's free. Yeah. It's not actually free. Someone's buying the policy and paying for that, but it's free in their mind.
Gary, I just wanted to kind of brag on you for a bit. So this, I'm just thinking of this one particular client in New York. Now he has 2 locations, does 6 million. He has a blueprint, and that blueprint evolves quarter to quarter, year to year. One thing I know about every one of your clients, you have lifelong clients, is that it's like they learn how to, run a race or run a mile. And then they're like, okay, I don't want to stop at a mile. Let me learn how to run 2 miles. They're like, I don't want to stop at 2 miles. And they keep going and going. And then they're doing marathons. And then they're doing, so same thing here, right? So the blueprint, the beauty of blueprint is at any given time, here are the things I need to do over the next 3, 6, 12 months. And it keeps getting adjusted. So every 3 months you adjust it. So, hey, we did these things, but now let's add new things. Let's tweak some things based on what we learned in the last 3 months. Maybe you lost an associate. Now you need to accommodate for that. Maybe you got a great opportunity to buy this location. You need to accommodate for that, right? Maybe the doctor spent $50,000 getting a new equipment and you want to grow that part of your business, or, got certain certification completed after working on it for 2 years. So it's kind of fun though, like the way you do it. I mean, you have a team, you guys use a tool called Monday.com, you have an active blueprint, and the client knows, and not only the client, but individuals in that practice knows what they need to do as part of the blueprint.
Having, built things in the past, buildings, the blueprint has everything called out in it. It has all the material lists called out. It has the cabinet details called out, has the finishes called out. Everything has the electrical diagrams called out, the plumbing diagram, every detail of the building. It's nothing like, it's not just cabinets go here.
Yeah, because that's why your coaching is so customized. Like every client, whether they're a $6 million practice or somebody like trying to get to their first million, they have a very custom plan.
And it's your plan, not ours. Yeah. It's your plan.
Right.
But the analogy I like to use, and this is kind of comes from personal experience. Some of you might know that as a young adult, I'm a sailor. I've done a lot of sailing in my life. And as a young adult, I lived on a sailboat for 4 years. And the analogy I'd like you to think about is like sailing that boat off into the horizon. Once you leave sight of land, you just keep sailing, to wherever it is that you're going. And today, of course, we have all kinds of tools that help us with that, with GPS and location.
In the old days, it was a map and a GPS and a map. Compass, right?
Yeah, it was a compass in the old days and a sextant. You actually took readings of the sun at different positions, and that's how you navigated.
Did you do that when you were like?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I actually learned how to do that. Wow. It's a skill. It's a wonderful ancient navigator, mariner's skill. And I count myself very fortunate to have had some very good instructors in that. But it's like sailing to the horizon. You never get there. You keep going. You never get there. And that's the same thing. That's what when I talk to, say, a 65-year-old dentist that is excited about going to work today as he or she was when they were first year in practice, it's because they all have something they're striving for. They're moving forward with something. And it gives them a reason. You're never there, you're keeping moving towards that horizon. So we constantly mid-course correct, like you mentioned some of the possibilities. Maybe we want to add a new treatment area that we're excited about. Maybe we've piddled with cosmetic dentistry, but now we want to really take a deep dive into it and get accredited by the AACD.
Yeah, and also
that might be an example. You
will have opportunities, you will have dangers. Like, for example, right after COVID, all the expenses went up 30%. Now you need to adjust to that. How do you deal with that, right? How do you still make a profit without, literally losing money on every patient you see?
Yeah. And we've got every contingency figured out in that blueprint. As you mentioned, Naren, we use a project management software called Monday. What I like about Monday, some of you may be familiar with it, but Monday is a project management software that is both robust. It allows us to have all kinds of details in it, but it's also simple. So it's easy for you and your team members to use. What Monday does for us, it allows us to keep every single task detailed in the blueprint so nothing slips through the cracks.
For example,
literally nothing can slip through the cracks.
If your goal is to drop PPO plans, which is the first one, how do I get ready? How do I have those conversations with the patients? Do I train my team properly? All those details have to be thought through and done.
The sample letter we send out to the patients, the sequencing of the letter, the training that we do with the team members, so everyone knows what their role is in communicating a consistent message to our patients. All of that is there. Another component of resigning from PPO plans is developing a marketing plan to replace patients that you're going to lose when you go out of network, because you're going to lose some. But now we replace them ahead of time so that we proactively replace any you might lose, but we also replace the historic flow of patients that have come in from a plan. Like, for example, if you're getting 20 new patients a month from Delta and your plan is to resign from Delta, annualize that. Well, 20 times 12, 240 patients a year. The day you resign from Delta, that drops down to 0 because you're no longer listed on their website.
Right.
So you have to have a way to replace those. And when you've done this, it literally, it's fun, having been involved in construction before, it's fun to see, a bare lot out there, turned into this exquisite, dental office that you built because you had every detail figured out. Well, the same thing can happen, with your plan. And I want to emphasize, and this is something I'm spending more and more time on in my work with our clients, is part of that blueprint has got to be to achieve an effective work-life balance in the process. Because if you achieve every other measurement of success, financial, maybe you're doing the kind of dentistry you like to do, you're surrounded by people you love, your patients you love, and your team members you love, but it comes at the expense of work-life balance, then I'm going to say it's not worth it. If it comes at the expense of your relationship with your spouse or partner or your kids, comes at the expense of having time for health and wellness and fitness, comes at the expense of your interest outside of dentistry, your hobbies and your interests, if it comes at the expense of actually your health, where because of your work pace, you don't have good health, then it isn't worth it. It isn't worth that. Naren, we only have to go back less than 20 years and remember what happened to Steve Jobs.
Right.
Remember his parting messaging that all the money in the world didn't make up for the fact that he now didn't have health.
Right.
A sad ending to an amazing someone who contributed amazingly, to technology and to life. Right. But it came at the expense of his health. So
let me go back to the question or the title of this podcast, right? Which is how to develop an effective blueprint to achieve the practice results you deserve. I know we touched on lots of elements, but give us the 10,000-foot view on here are the few. I know you customize it for your clients and all that, but just give us the high level overview.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's got to have some numbers attached to it. It's not about the numbers. It's about taking care of patients and providing the experience that is your vision for your practice. That's what it's about. The numbers are a byproduct of that. But we do get deep into numbers. And that has to be self-defined. It also depends on your practice model. I happen to think that the best practice model is the foundation of your practice is everyday general dentistry. This is for a general practice. Everyday general dentistry combined with hygiene, strong hygiene department. That's your practice foundation. From that, we build on the foundation then, and we add selected high-value services, the things you like to do. It might be placing and restore implants. It might be adult orthodontics. It might be cosmetic dentistry. It could be complex restorative dentistry. It could be sedation, whether it be oral conscious sedation or IV sedation. It might involve diagnosing and treating sleep apnea with appliance therapy. There's any number of different ways. Choose those high-value services based on the clinical areas that you're passionate about, that you might imagine yourself taking hundreds of hours of CE. It might involve having a second doctor in your practice, and maybe going with a second doctor, going to a 3-day doctor work week. I would love more dentists to get to a 3-day clinical work week. If you're the practice owner and you're working 3 clinical days, your work's not over yet, is it, Naren?
Yeah.
You still have to manage the business side of your practice. Of course, we can help you with that in our coaching, but there's still going to be things you have to do in addition to the clinical dentistry. But that's a fast track. And you can have a very productive practice, working 3 days a week, doing a mix of services, and having a second doctor. Maybe the office is open 5 days a week. Maybe it's Monday through Friday. And you're working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and your associate's working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Those are the kind of details that we would pull together to create your blueprint. Where do you want to go with this? And we can start with wherever you are, and start to develop very specific goals.
Yeah. So you don't need to worry. Let's say you want to get somewhere in 3 years, but let's figure out how do we get to the end of the year? How do we?
Well, we start with first steps. What do we do first? And then we break it down into, reverse engineering. We know where you want to go. We know what it takes to get there. And then it's a matter of how do we break it down into manageable tasks that just allow us to keep making progress towards that goal. And the end result is a practice that literally is a joyful practice. You enjoy going to work. You enjoy doing what you're doing. You're being rewarded for it financially. You're either fee for service or you have a very low insurance footprint.
Right.
You don't have to go all the way to fee for service.
And your patients love you. They come to you and
they're coming to you because they appreciate what you giving them reasons to come to you. Right. It's not free. One of the reasons why practices have such a high cancellation no-show rate, Naren, the majority of practices, 95% of practices in the United States have a heavy PPO involvement, 95%. Right. That's a crazy statistic, 95%. And those practices have a much higher cancellation and no-show because the majority of their patients, 80% plus, are PPO patients, and they're not showing up for their free hygiene appointment.
Yeah.
Because that's how much they value it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember another way to think about it is, we all know McDonald's, right? It's people don't care. Like they're like almost like half dead. The people there like just throwing you food at you, right? And then you go to $100 restaurant. I remember like once we were in this small town in France and we went to this, Michelin star restaurant. We Googled it. My daughters were like good at Google. They were like 10 years old. We go to this nice restaurant. The people there were sweating. There's only like 7 tables in the restaurant because they work so hard to earn that. And they have their own garden and all the ingredients come from their garden. Like, that's what I mean. Like you have to now earn it. It's no longer just given to you and you just sit there and that's the PPO practice, right? It's free. So you don't have to earn anything. Now everything changes here. And that takes work. That takes step by step, work and a team that's, doing all the right things at the right time.
Well, the great news is there are patients regardless of where you are that are looking for what we've just described. They're looking for you. Yeah. They're looking for it. And that's really the optimistic perspective. There are people wherever you are
Yeah.
that are looking for this. You don't need everyone. We just need enough patients to create, that blueprint, that model that we're talking about. Well, as you wrap this up today, Naren, I'd like to invite our listeners, if this sounds intriguing to you, if you'd like to have myself and a team working with you to develop your blueprint, reach out to me. Go to thrivingdentist.com/CSM. That stands for Coaching Strategy Meeting. And I'll provide more details about this and help give you a vision for the future that I think you would be very excited about, and might represent the difference between feeling sort of mediocre about your profession and feeling like, oh my gosh, I get to be a dentist, taking care of patients I love, doing the dentistry that I like to do. And by the way, I get rewarded handsomely for it financially, and I have a work-life balance. It is all possible. It is possible. Well, go to thrivingdentist.com/CSM. Would love to meet you there and talk about your coaching blueprint.
Absolutely.
Well, as we wrap up today, I want to thank all of our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you here at the Less Insurance Dependence Podcast. For now, thank you for the privilege of your time. We look forward to connecting with you next week.